Good morning, YouTube. I will not be beginning this video with my usual sign-in or my usual verve because I am coming into this rather angry. Over the weekend, I have a friend on Twitter who has had to turn off their comments on Twitter for an indeterminate amount of time or an undisclosed amount of time. And that is because they have been facing really, really bad comments and racism from white Canadians. This person is an Indigenous Canadian, and because of the recent uncoverings of the Kamloops School and the Miraval School in Canada, I have no idea why this is happening, except that I kind of do, but we'll get to that. But Indigenous people in Canada have been facing a great deal of hate from white Canadians, like myself, but not myself, because I don't spread hate, or at least I attempt not to. Okay, so this person straight up told me the reason why they are experiencing so much hate and the reason why they had to turn their comments off is straight up because of racism. They know exactly why, I know exactly why, and I want to address the negative party in this, I want to address the neutral party in this, and I want to address my own side in this. I consider myself part of the good party in this argument, in this whole catastrophe, and I say that unironically. But to start with the dissenters, to start with the people who are saying white Canadians are so oppressed now by Indigenous people, or rather, they would probably use some racial slur in place of that, because, they can't stop whining about what's gone on in the past, and they can't let go of the past, and no one alive today is responsible for what happened, we shouldn't be held accountable. All this nonsense, and it's really ticking me off. I'm going to try to limit my use of curse words in this video. If one or two slip out, don't blame me. You can yell at me in the comments. I don't care. What I want to address with this is that, at least the way I see it, okay? The way I see this, there is a difference between responsibility versus culpability, okay? I was 7 years old when the last residential school in Canada was closed. I am ashamed to say that I was alive when this happened. This should never have happened to begin with, okay? This should never have happened to begin with, but it was over 100 years of Canada's history. Probably within your lifetime, there were still residential schools open, but I have this habit of assuming that everyone online is around my age, which is not correct. You could be 12 years old and watching this. If you are 12 years old and watching this, hi, thank you. Please go and read some books, okay? And I want you to look into the history that they are not teaching you in school. As far as I'm aware, they don't teach this history in school. It wasn't taught to me, but I went to elementary school like 20 years ago. So, to address the negative party on this account, people who are saying white Canadians are so oppressed now, and they should just shut up and, stop talking about it, stop making us feel guilty, this isn't our fault. Again, there is a difference between responsibility versus culpability. You may not have been personally responsible personally culpable, that is criminally to blame, for what occurred in residential schools. But in my view, you are responsible for aiding in undoing the damage. White people cannot do this alone. I do not claim that we can, but I do claim that it is our responsibility not only to try to heal the wrongs of the past, but also not to make them worse, either through active or passive means. Actively making things worse would be going on my friend's Twitter and calling them out for being so upset about this. In other words, Just lay down, shut up, and leave us alone and stop making us feel guilty. If you are doing this, stop it. Stop it, okay? I've got my newspaper in my hand and I'm whacking you over the head with it. If you are doing that, stop it. However, there is also passive help towards the cause of racism and continued oppression. Those who do not educate themselves and those who do not understand why people are so upset largely comprise the neutral party in this, and that's who I want to talk to next. So I'm going to get progressively less angry throughout this. I just wanted to get that off my chest at first. If you are being a jerk about this, if you're saying white Canadians are so oppressed and why don't they just stop talking about it, they're making us feel guilty. Number one, no, you are not oppressed. If you are a white Canadian, you cannot be oppressed by virtue of your race. Number two, you should feel guilty because guilt can be a stimulus for action. I don't think that guilt on its own is good. You need to act upon guilt. Otherwise, it just lays there as this passive thing. I don't approve of that. Act upon your guilt to educate yourself and to support the people around you who require your support right now. So that's to address the negative party. Stop it. To address the neutral party, however, I would probably count myself in the neutral to good category because there are pieces that I am definitely missing. In the neutral category comprised of people who may be doing wrong through ignorance rather than through malice or through just not wanting to look at what's going on. People who are ignorant of why this is such a big deal, I would suggest to them as well as to myself, because there's a lot of required reading I need to do. There's a lot of people I should be talking to get first-hand, second-hand accounts of things that happened up to and including 1997 in Canada. People I know are the children of residential school survivors or maybe residential school survivors on their own. So talk to people within the communities themselves, but also educate yourself independently. It is not the job of Indigenous people to teach you everything you need to know, especially right now. As further discoveries, or as I like to call them, uncoverings, because they're not discoveries, okay? We all knew that this was a thing that happened. This is the thing that continues to happen. They're uncoverings of what we all know to be true, not discoveries of new truth, okay? But as these uncoverings continue to be made, the pain in these communities is only going to grow more and more and more. It is unfortunately necessary that these uncoverings be made in order to help people heal and in order to reveal the truth that the more oppressive side of this equation wants to keep suppressed. That's not fair to the respective communities, and there are a lot of them. All right, there are a lot of people suffering right now. There are a lot of people who are angry. There are a lot of people who are sad. There are very many people in grieving, and right now is not the time to ask them, but what should I do about XYZ? Number one, please read the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I will be continuing my series about that as time goes on, because I asked my friend, do I have the right, even as a white Canadian right now, to talk about Native issues? Is that culturally insensitive of me, or is that a good thing that I want to keep doing? And he says to me, you are responsible for educating yourself and for educating others. That right now is not our burden. And I'm like, yep, I get you. I get you. We are responsible for educating ourselves. Read the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. As I say, there are probably copies online, multiple copies in print and in audio, most likely. Look it up, read it thoroughly, and research any of the points that you don't understand. And that's what I've been doing. And there's some horrific stuff in there. And it just, the fact that the TRC has not been fully achieved, not even close to being fully achieved, resonates very badly with me because it speaks to the negligence and the ignorance and the cowardice, quite frankly, of our government and our majority population. So that's to address the neutral party. To address the good party in this, those points still apply, but also if you have Indigenous friends, if you want to help, as I say, read the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, but also do not put undue burdens on Indigenous people. If you're friends with them, if you're colleagues, coworkers, neighbors, make sure that they know that you as a white Canadian do not support what happened in the past, that you do not want to see it continue, either actively or passively through racism of the modern day. Stand with them, be with them in their grief, but give them space. I've been attempting to do this, but it's a question of where do I draw the line? Do I want to try to be immersed completely in the communities right now? Or do I want to back off a bit, give them room, and there's a fine line to walk there. But I mean, people generally have a radar of how far they should go with, even saying to a person, I'm here for you right now. You can come to me for help. Because a lot of the time, if you are a white Canadian, and don't take offense to this, they may not want to come to you because you are not part of the immediacy of this pain, of the immediacy of this trauma, of this tragedy, and, as I have said, of these crimes against humanity. More and more, these things will continue to happen as further uncoverings are made, as I say. So this is an ongoing process, and our self-education and our support of Indigenous peoples and Indigenous communities should also be ongoing, even after, up to and including and after the very last body is found. Sorry, but those efforts have to continue. We have to ensure that we are not causing harm, that we are not allowing harm to happen in spite of our efforts and in spite of other people's efforts. Rule number 1, don't be a jackass. Rule number 2, educate yourself. Rule number 3, go as far and no further as people ask you to go in terms of supporting them directly, in terms of saying to them, I'm here for you. You can talk to me when, if you want to or need to. But a lot of the time, as I say, and don't take offense to this because I'm really trying not to, they're not going to want to come to you because you may not be actively oppressing, but as I say, you are also not part of the immediacy of this pain. So, take a moderate approach to helping people in a direct manner. In the meantime, educate yourself and don't make the problem worse. And that's all I have to say about that. We will see how this develops. I will probably give you, developments as this goes on. But hopefully tomorrow we will get back to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission because we all have some required reading to do. And I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you for putting up with my nattering, shall we say. I tried to keep it light, but things will happen. Troll me in the comments. I don't care. Don't troll Indigenous people right now. All right? Back off. Thank you. Have a good day.